Well, as you well know, we have an awesome golf community right here in Austin, and one of the major things that we like to do is kind of spread the word about some things that are going on. And one of the big things right now is a book called Birdies, Bogeys, and Bipolar Disorder, and it's Mike Wellington. Mike, welcome in. I want to start with something that's maybe a little off topic when it comes to what you're promoting right now. I want to start with golf.
Okay.
Because I know that's where, you know, you've done this all your life. It's what you're kind of your lifeblood for a long time. Obviously, Jordan Spieth has just done amazing things. Mike, you went to Q school 6 times. You were right on the cusp of a lot of different things. What level do you have to be on to do what he's doing in golf right now?
Well, if I knew the level that Jordan Spieth was playing at, I'd try to get there myself. But, you know, that kid, you know, you have to have such great respect for that kid. I mean, you know, when I grew up, I want to be Jordan Spieth. I think, you know, the way he handles himself in public, the way he handles himself with the media, you know, that is more impressive, I think, than even the golf. And then, you know, you throw the golf in there, and he's just got that it thing. You know, he gets it in the hole faster than everybody else, and he does it with a smile on his face. And he's a kid that not only is great for the state of Texas, but for the United States.
You've obviously played a ton of golf in your life, and you've been in the zone a lot of times. Does he just stay in the zone? I mean, is that what it looks like to you when you see him play?
He is able to use that law of attraction better than any other golfer on the planet right now. You know, I think Jason Day's right there with him when you talk about you know, the guys that can use that law of attraction. And yeah, he understands what he needs to do to get his mind in the right place to execute certain shots and make certain putts. And he's already made so many clutch putts that he can rely on those when he gets into these news situations when he has a clutch putt. And you know, I'm really glad that that Jordan Spieth's on our side for the Ryder Cup for sure.
Well, let's get into a little bit of the conversation of why you're down in Austin right now. He's a St. Louis native. What is it? Tell us a little bit about what you're doing in Austin right now.
Yeah, I came down to Austin because I have a number of friends down here, just great people down in Austin, and I had a book that came out September 1st, and as you mentioned, the book, it's a story of my life playing professional golf while living with bipolar disorder. I was diagnosed with bipolar back in 2001, and the story starts from 2001 and goes all the way to 2011. It talks about, you know, my trips to the Q school and some other interesting things that happened to me along the way with my health that luckily, you know, after a lot of trial and error, I was able to get my health in order. So now, you know, I wrote the book, and you know, the book's been great. It's created a new awareness, I think, for people that are living with bipolar disorder. David Faraday, who's another great Texas guy, was able to lend his hand with the book and wrote the foreword for the book. And so I'm just down here kind of talking to a few people, trying to spread the awareness in this, as you mentioned at the top of this, this great golf community you have in Austin and all over Texas, really. So it's been fun. You know, obviously bipolar is a very serious topic. You know, I mean, we have
and probably one that's not mentioned a whole lot in the grand scheme of things right now.
Very, very true. I mean, people are afraid to talk about bipolar disorder. They're afraid to talk about mental illness. And let's just face it, Bob. I mean, the two main problems in this country right now are terrorism, number one, and right behind it is mental illness. And when you really think about it, terrorism is a form of mental illness. But obviously, my book is about bipolar disorder, my experiences, and I wanted to put the book out there to share what I learned about bipolar disorder, because there's people out there that aren't comfortable talking about it, and it's out there doing some very bad things. I mean, for every person like me that's handling the disorder okay and that's living a healthy life, there's a handful of people that are struggling, and you know, that was kind of the main idea for the book.
You know, a lot of us are familiar with Bogeys, maybe not Birdies as much, and obviously even less familiar with bipolar. So what was a few of your first experiences in when you realized something was just totally off in your life? Was it early? Can you pinpoint something early in life, or was it, you know, back in 2001 when you're actually diagnosed?
Yeah, it's a great question. I certainly didn't know anything about it until I was diagnosed in 2001. I had graduated college in December of 2000 and moved in January of 2001 to Fort Myers, Florida to start my professional golf career. And my behavior was very odd, as you would imagine, when a bipolar person is not healthy. So I had been on the phone calling people, you know, talking kind of funny, and my parents came down to see me, and they brought me to a doctor, and he gave me a list. He said, "Hey, listen to your parents tell me about your behavior, and here's a list of all the things that a bipolar person has, all the traits." And I went down the list, and certainly every single one of them, I was like, I've got that, I've got that. And so I was never really in denial that I had the disorder. I certainly struggled for the first 5 years living with the disorder of taking medication. I mean, now I take medication every day. At the time, you know, I was lucky to be an All-American in college. I played at Spring Hill College in Mobile, Alabama, and I was afraid when I got diagnosed that if I started taking this medication, it would affect my touch around the greens and maybe mess with my putting or maybe even mess with my golf swing. I didn't know. So I wasn't real consistent for the first 5 years. And in 2006, I just kind of had, for lack of a better term, an intervention with a couple of different groups of friends. And they kind of said, Michael, look, we want to have you in our lives and we love you, but we need you to take this medication, because the common denominator every time I would run into trouble and wind up in a hospital because of the disorder was that I wasn't taking my medicine. And
but even then, it didn't set in with you, right? I mean, it wasn't like 2006. Okay, I took my medicine, I'm just good to go.
I wish that bipolar was one of those things where you could just take medicine and everything would be okay. Right. And for a long time, I thought that was the case, and I continued to abuse alcohol and stay up too late, and I wasn't living a healthy life. And so once you put all the components together, and medication is included in that list, exercise, proper sleep, diet, fundamental stuff, then I was able to really get healthy. And if anybody learns anything from my story, if you are bipolar disorder, if you have bipolar disorder, do not use alcohol. I mean, alcohol is like pouring gasoline on an already blazing fire, and I had to learn that the hard way. But I quit drinking about almost 4.5 years ago, and that was the catalyst to really get me healthy. Once I could be consistent with my meds and erase alcohol from my diet, my health improved tenfold.
Back in 2001, you were all set to go one-on-one with the greatest golfer in the world.
Yeah.
Tell us that story.
Yeah, I mean, I get that question.
And I want to preface it by saying this. I think when you go through this process, you have a lot of incredibly amazing stories of things that you did, right, while you were trying to get a stranglehold on bipolar. I think this one is probably the one that stands out among all of them, because you're ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you don't know anything about bipolar, there's the two opposite ends of the spectrum. There's the manic highs where you're feeling invincible and you feel like you can take on the world, and then there's obviously the depressive and suicidal lows. And in 2001, I was coming off of a college campaign that was pretty good on the golf course, and I thought I was pretty good. And the summer before I graduated I graduated college, I had met Tiger in Colorado when I worked there as a caddy, and it was a very brief encounter. I'm positive he wouldn't remember who I was, but we talked for a few minutes at a place called Maroon Creek in Aspen, Colorado. And when I went down to Florida and got into that manic mindset, I got this idea in my head that I was going to drive across the state from Fort Myers to Windermere to Orlando and try to play golf with Tiger. And
take them on one-on-one.
Absolutely, absolutely. And at the time, when you're manic and you're not healthy, you have these ideas and they seem normal. They seem like the right thing to do, but obviously they weren't. At the time, Tiger had just won 3 majors in a row, and if I were to play with Tiger, I mean, obviously I probably would have got stomped. But it was a situation that really nothing wild really came of it. I ended up driving across the state and got to his neighborhood, and the security guard wasn't going to let me in anyway. So.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's just one example. I mean, that was actually kind of a funnier example. There's some more serious things that happen.
That's what I was going to ask you next. Can you just hit on a few of those, just so we understand what goes through your mind as you're trying to battle, through everything, and you don't even know sometimes you're trying to battle through it.
The thing about it is when people are struggling with bipolar disorder and they're engulfed in the mania, they don't understand. Everything that happens to them seems normal, and there's no such thing really as normal, but. I was accentuating the situation with myself because I was staying out too late drinking. I wasn't getting enough sleep. My priorities were out of whack, Bob. I mean, my priorities were golf first, have fun second, and everything else after that. And once I got serious,
I think for a lot of 20-year-olds, that's what you go through.
Absolutely.
But when you're battling this too, it just adds tenfold to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I was a kid, I wanted to play the PGA Tour, and I still do. And Freddie Couples is my idol, so growing up, I watched him win the Masters, and that really got my attention. And so I thought, up until I was 23, I was just trying to figure out golf, and then at 23, I get diagnosed with bipolar, and I had to figure out bipolar. I mean, I think because I'm a golfer, I was able to kind of figure out bipolar in the sense that I needed about 10 or 11 years of research, of my own research, of living every single day trying to figure out what the best way was to be healthy. And I think I've found that now, and it's been a lot of trial and error. But I'm happy to say that if you are bipolar, that doesn't mean you're cursed. It doesn't mean that I mean, there's so many high-functioning, successful bipolar people out there, but on the flip side to that, there's ugly stories that have come to me ever since my book came out, and those ugly stories, they really motivate me to get out and kind of share my story more, because it's important in today's world that mental health is recognized and respected, really.
You mentioned the intervention with a lot of your different groups of friends. Mm-hmm. What was the most serious moment for you when you went through from 2001 to 2011 or so?
I think when you're manic and you're a young man or a young person. I was in my late 20s or mid 20s at the time when I was at my worst probably, and for some reason when you're in that state of mind, you don't want to listen to your family, which is ridiculous because my family has been nothing but supportive. Sure. But so I listened to my friends, and I was in a hospital in St. Louis, Barnes Hospital. I was there for 30 days, unfortunately, and I had some groups of friends that sat me down and said, look, you can handle this, but you need to make it your priority, mm-hmm. and once I heard my friends sit me down, because everybody has their parents and their brothers and sisters telling them one thing or another, and everybody wants to shrug that off, but once my friends sat me down, that was eye-opening, because ever since from that day on, I was very consistent about my medication. Now granted, it's not just about the medication, sure. but the medication is the baseline, and I'm the only reason I'm sitting here, Bob, is because of my friends and my family, and I'm lucky, and I know there's people out there that don't have the same kind of support system that I do, and that's one of the reasons that I put the book together, because bipolar can make you feel lonely. It can make you be cruel to other people, and it can be cruel to you. It's a very cunning disease. I mean, it's a nasty thing if you don't have it in order. But if you do learn how to use it in the right way, you can accomplish a lot. And that's kind of the message I'm trying to convey. That's what people need to understand.
The book is Birdies, Bogeys, and Bipolar. And Mike, it's more than just about the book for you right now. You've also started a foundation. Mm-hmm. Why did you want to get involved in that as well? Well,
I just felt like, it was more about me sharing the story and helping people learn. My mom was a teacher, my grandmother was a teacher and an athletic director, and so I learned from teachers. And the cool thing that's happened with our foundation, it's called birdiesforbipolar.org, is we've had this wonderful connection with the VA hospital in St. Louis, and we've started a golf league, and we pay for them to go play in the Missouri Amputee Golf Tournament every year. And I have all these new, veteran friends that really kind of keep me grounded, because, I've had some struggles with the bipolar, but some of these veterans, Bob, I mean, they are incredible people, amputees and guys that have bipolar disorder, guys that have post-traumatic stress syndrome, guys that have anxiety and OCD, true American heroes that, I hear their stories on the golf course because I go play in the leagues with them, and we invite them to our tournament we have over 4th of July, and like I said, we pay for them to go to the Missouri Amputee Tournament. These guys, they aren't even recognized for the things they've done, and the struggles that they go through, not just physically, but also between their ears. The foundation, it turned into something I never imagined, and it's been really, really good and positive.
Before you go, you've mentioned your golf game. This is all about golf.
Sure.
How is your golf game, and is it something you think in maybe a few years you want to do competitively again?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I tried to stay competitive last year. I played 12 competitive rounds last year. I'm going to try to play more in 2016 because I just love to play. I love to compete. I love to test myself and see, what I've got. I mean, that's I think why all professional golfers play. So, but obviously the situation with our foundation and some of the public speaking I'm doing in our book, that's got to take first position right now. But I certainly plan on maybe the second half of 2016 or maybe the beginning of 2017 to start playing a more full schedule. I mean, I definitely want to play more competition. That is certainly on my list of things to do for sure.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, and thank you for what you're doing for mental illness and creating awareness for it across really the country right now.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, Mike Wellington, the book is Birdies, Bogeys, and Bipolar.